Welcome to My Turn Podcast, a gaming podcast hosted by extra competitive siblings. My name's Gem and I'm joined by my littlest sibling, Erim.
Hello.
Hello, Erim. How are you?
Gem and listeners. I'm surprisingly quite good at the minute, actually.
Yeah, you're coping with lockdown number 3?
Well, coping, yeah, just about. But I don't know. I've started to notice the days are getting a bit longer now, and it's put a bit of positivity and optimism back into my life, because every night I was crying into my pillow, and now I feel slightly better.
Yeah, yay for the almost spring dawn. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Yay for more lights, basically.
Yeah, I know I'm being very, what's the word? Very eager. I know it's actually just the beginning of February, but any ounce of positivity I'm going to grasp onto and never let go of. So, yeah. Yeah,
totally don't blame you. Do not blame you at all. So this is a gaming podcast and we are back with another fresh new games for you. What game are you going to be talking about, Erin?
I'm going to be talking about Gone Home. And yourself?
I'm going to be talking about Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. And for anyone who's... Yeah, yes, indeed. Ooh.
I'm very excited for this one. I really want to play this one, so I'm quite eager for your review.
Yes, I am eager to talk about it because I'm the only one in my household who's played it so far. Anyway, we'll get into it in a bit. But yeah, for anyone who is tuning in for the first time, welcome. We are not your average gaming podcast. Oh, no. We're extra competitive siblings. When we play games together in person, things get thrown around.
Indeed. Yeah, definitely a few injuries.
Unfortunately, with this lockdown, we are mostly playing online games and video games, obviously, and we are not able to see each other in real life. It's really sad. But the
positive thing is there are no injuries between us, so there's always that. There's been no family arguments as well between us immediate siblings, for sure. So there's always a positive way of looking at it.
Yeah, it's very zen of you, Erin. It's very, yeah, okay.
Thank you. But when we start playing again, I will throw lots of things at you, just to make up for lost time. You're welcome.
Yeah, that will make me feel like we're definitely back to normal when things get thrown across the room.
Hi, sister. Bang.
I honestly cannot wait for the day.
We'll be 5 minutes into a game and you'll be like, do you know what? I just can't deal with this anymore. We'll be so unused to it. But I actually know, in all seriousness, yeah, I can't wait either. So many good games to play as well. It's going to be very exciting.
So, Erin, for anyone who's never heard the podcast, how would you describe our review style?
So...
Is it professional?
No, absolutely not. I think we've got our own preferences to different games. You quite like stories. I tend to get quite bored of them. I just want to get involved in something. I want to say normal people, but we're not normal people. We're just like average kind of weird people. Is that a thing? Average weird people? That's the thing now. Average weird people.
Yeah, we're like your everyday friendly neighbourhood weirdos. So we are not games journalists. These reviews are scantily researched at best. But what we like to do is try and give you a flavour of a game you might actually play. So we're not doing previews. We're not often playing games that have just come out. This is more about your average gamer who just likes to play games like us. Yay!
Yay!
So, with all of that said, let's jump straight into our first games review. So, Erin, remind us what you're reviewing and give us a description in a nutshell.
So, I'm going to be talking about Gone Home, which I played, I think, a few months back on PlayStation 4. So, this was developed and published by Fullbright in August 2013. I think it's on quite a few different platforms. So, it's Linux, Microsoft, OS X, which is a little bit controversial because it probably doesn't work on that anymore. PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, which I can imagine it will be amazing for, and also iOS.
Okay.
So, in a nutshell, now I've thought about this for a while, how to describe it. I think the best way to explain it is kind of give a bit of a setup to the game. So you arrive on the doorstep of a house, which it is in America actually, like a typical kind of American detached house. You've got all your luggage and you've arrived in the middle of a storm. But the thing about this house is there's no one in. Like, a lot of the lights aren't working. It almost feels like something a bit sinister has happened. And what you essentially need to do within this game is piece together what's actually happened within this house and why there's no one there. So it does have a bit of a setup of a bit of a mystery.
Okay.
But even though it has creepy undertones, I wouldn't necessarily say it was scary. It's very story driven. And I think, yeah, it's almost like playing a bit of a film because you're not really, there's no typical logic puzzles or any real thinking. It's just exploring and piecing together different bits and finding out what has actually happened. So it's quite an easy game to just pick up, play and not think about. It's almost like, like I said, playing a bit of a film, which is quite nice.
Very nice. So did you have any expectations of what this game would be like going in? Like, had you read any reviews or...
I mean, we'd looked up a few reviews and we didn't read too much about it, but sorry, by the way, I was playing it with my girlfriend. From the initial descriptions, we thought it was going to be a bit of a mystery kind of, like something bad had actually happened. So a bit like the initial setup. That's how it was described to us. That was our expectation. It is a bit different as you go through the game and start piecing things together because you realise the story isn't so much a horrible thing that's happened. It's actually quite an endearing little story without giving too much away. I don't want to give away spoilers because this game, the story is everything in this game. Without that, it's literally just walking around someone's house, which is great fun, by the way, because you get to move stuff.
Let's definitely not do spoilers for this. So talk to me about the things that were good about the game. What did you like?
The storytelling in it is really, really, really good. And the voice acting. And even though you're the sole character and you don't actually have any conversation, as you're picking up notes, they're read in different people's voices. So the actual character development, even though there isn't a character there, just by picking up their stories, you're learning more about you're basically the big sister who's come home, and you start to find out something a little bit untoward has happened between your mum and your dad. And also your little sister is no longer at home and you're reading through her notes. And it's just, the way the story is told and you piece together little bits about her is just really quite, I don't know, it's just really engaging in a well done way through its storytelling and its narrative. I think is really, really nice.
I actually love when you get a letter in a game and a voice reads it.
Yeah.
Partly because I'm lazy and I hate...
I'm exactly the same. Normally, like I said to you at the beginning, normally stories, unless it's really engaging, I will just instantly switch off because, ADHD child and all.
He's not joking, by the way. He was diagnosed with... So no shade to any people with any ADHD sufferers. But for that reason, same as you, like just not being able to cope with having to focus on reading things within a game. But also, as you're saying, like I always think if the voice acting's good, having a letter read is so evocative of whatever the atmosphere is, and it really adds layers, I think. Yeah. So it's interesting that you like that as well.
Yeah, I think they did a really good job. The voice actor did a really good job of actually selling the character. I think if you're really into that kind of thing, then I think this game really hits the nail on the head in that respect. Definitely. So, I mean, that is kind of the big selling point of this game. And I guess to go on to the negatives, this isn't a typical game. There's not really a lot of strategy or anything like that in terms of how you're thinking about it. It's almost you're just playing through the exploration of the house. It is, I think they call it a walking simulator, because you're literally just walking around, picking things up, reading things, and discovering what's happened. So if you're someone who wants a bit more kind of like engaging, action and things happening around you, this isn't really that kind of game. So I've actually found, when I was researching this, there's quite a lot of polarizing opinion. Some people absolutely love it because the story's so well presented, and other people are like, this is just boring because I'm just walking around a house, reading and getting read to.
Interesting. I guess it's a bit, I mean, I haven't played this, but I know of it, and it's reminding me a bit of the way, what happened to Edith Finch, that you called Edith Finch? Remember we reviewed that in an episode?
Yeah.
But it sounds like it's sort of similar, but maybe not quite as good.
I don't know, because a lot of people who have like reviewed it really well tend to give it 9 and 10 out of 10.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah, it really seems to be like, if you're into your storytelling and you'll really, really like this game. But then also people who are just like, I just want to go around and kill things, like not your type of game at all. So they've just slated it.
But Erim, you're a person who just really wants to go around and kill things when you play games. So it's interesting that you said, but you are.
But the thing, okay. So I do like that, but that's kind of like hiding away actually, good storytelling. Like we were saying about Assassin's Creed, I got so bored of the story, but because you can kill stuff, it's still engaging.
Right.
Whereas I think this is like credit to this game, because the storytelling is that good that someone who doesn't have the best attention span was really engaged in it and wanted to find out more and wanted to invest like a good few hours into it to discover what had actually happened.
Okay.
Okay, fair enough. Like most stories I can get a bit bored with, but if it's done well enough, then I will appreciate it. Plus, I think in this season, I did want to go for a different kind of game, because I didn't want to just, do the same genre again and again. I wanted to explore different things and just see what other opportunities they open up to me in terms of gameplay. And
Absolutely.
so far, not disappointed at all, actually.
I'm very
really,
proud
really
of you.
it. Thank you.
And what's hilarious is I'm going to be reviewing a hack and slash game. So
it's like I said on the first episode of the season, we've just switched.
Yeah, I want to murder thousands of baddies. Anyway, I digress. Let's get back onto any other negative points about this game.
Not really. I think that's the only thing. If it's not for action, like people like action-packed things, controls that weren't too clunky. No, everything was pretty good. Atmosphere was good. There's barely any negatives to say.
Oh, that's a lovely thing to hear. So tell me about anything that really stood out for this game. Anything of note? Anything you appreciated?
The atmosphere it creates, actually. I really love the way you start off, and it's quite a contrasting outcome in the end. You start off, like I said, it does feel really creepy, and like it could be the setting for like a horror game. But like as you kind of go through the game, the atmosphere of the house changes because you start switching on lights and uncovering new rooms, and it becomes a bit more homely. And as you're going through the story, which is a little bit romantic to say, it just kind of, the tonal shift of the game I think is really, really well done. And it's so nice. The other thing I loved about it as well, as you go through, as well as like picking up different letters as well, you find like little mixtapes that people have made to each other. And the music is, I love the music. They've really captured like the kind of teenage high school rocker kind of vibe in some of the songs. I was like, this is so cool. I've obviously been a musician. I quite appreciate the music, and having that raw element in there was just quite nice. Made it feel more organic.
And is it contemporary? Like, is it set now?
Yeah, I think so. There's nothing to really indicate that it wouldn't be. I would say maybe actually. So it is probably, I would say, when Nirvana was kind of.
Not now, if it's Nirvana.
Well, I thought you meant as in like modern day rather than like. Oh, I guess it's not modern day.
We're older than you think we are.
Oh my god. Okay, so I
Nirvana
think
was 90s,
it's about the time.
Grunge.
But then it could also, 90s. Yeah. I don't know. It's quite hard to tell because obviously the people in it, the teenage girls in it, are quite big fans of that kind of genre of music. But then even people I know now that I teach music to quite like all that kind of grunge rock stuff if they're alternative enough. So it's difficult to judge. I'd say it's pretty modern, but it could be a few decades back.
Sure. Okay, so obviously it doesn't matter enough for it to
Not
be that relevant.
Not really, no.
And what about the art style?
Quite realistic, actually. They've definitely gone for realism and they've definitely pulled it off really well. It's all done in first person as well, so it's meant to feel quite immersive. Yeah, actually, all things considered, I think the way it's presented is really, really, really good. And they've definitely spent a lot of time detailing the house. There's so much in the house to like kind of look through as well. You're literally just rummaging through someone's private life, I guess. You can literally go into mum and dad's room and the daughter's rooms, go through their study, find like all their stuff in their cellars. It's really, really well done. It's a house with no one in, but it still has so much life within it.
Oh, that's very deep. That's very deep. As you were talking, I was just thinking of what is that program where people go round to each other's houses and cook? And there's always a bit when they go upstairs and like look in their knicker drawers.
Oh my God, come dine with me.
Yeah,
this is a come dine with me with no other guests. You've just broken into someone's house.
But can you look in their knicker drawer?
Yes.
Oh gosh, okay, that really tickled me. Sorry, I do apologise.
Honestly, you just rummage through someone's house. I was having a great time just like throwing stuff everywhere and just making a mess after myself.
So was there anything else of note worth mentioning before we move on to recommendations?
No, I don't think this game really does anything particularly unique. Again, it's just about the story. A really, really, really good story with a very nice romantic element and that edgy thriller kind of setup when you first come in. Yeah, I think I've touched on all the points, but yeah, I really want to also now home that how good the atmosphere is and the tonal shift as the story progresses as well. Just really, really well done. Yeah,
sounds
quite
great. I really want to play it now. I've got it downloaded on my Xbox from about 2 years ago.
I'd love to see what your opinion of it is actually, whether you're going to go one way or the other, because I can imagine, I don't know, you do like story a lot, but then also you like puzzly stuff, so...
Yeah, but I like games that are like that game that I mentioned in our roundup of the year, Tell Me Why. I mean, that's basically a story game. So I like games that are purely one type of game where you can't really fail. I like those kinds of games if that's what it is. I'll enjoy it for what it is rather than needing to always gamify things. Like, it annoys me when you've got a narrative driven game and then they just add a bunch of button bashing to it for no reason that doesn't really work with the rest of the game. So yeah, like I can go either way, but if the story's good, as you say, I'm always a big fan of good narrative. So I'm sure I'll like it if it's that evocative and emotive.
Please feed back to me when you've played it. I'd love to see.
Hell yes, I will.
Review of it.
The other thing I was going to ask was, how long did it take you to play through this game?
I think it was about 2 or 3 hours, because we also like it. We weren't intensely playing it. We kind of started playing it, had a few drinks, ate dinner halfway through, and then picked it up and carried on and finished it off, really.
So in one session, pretty much. Like,
it is one. Yeah, it will take you a couple of hours. I think it's you can probably complete it in under an hour, but if you like to just explore a bit more and you're someone who wants to walk around and just like find out all the smaller details, then you could probably spend upwards of 4 hours, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so apart from for Snoops and Peeping Toms, who else would you recommend this game for?
People who like things like, I guess, is it Bandersnatch? Do you remember?
Yeah,
that?
Bandersnatch.
Like an interactive
the
kind
Black
of
Mirror movie where you've got to choose an ending.
where you get to make choices, but it's within a film kind of like story. I think that's what.
Okay.
I think that, and then people like point and click adventures as well. Chilled out gamers, I guess, as well. Yeah, no one who likes to be really too like full on with a game, really.
So, Erim, I think that just about rounds this up, and we're ready for your rating. What would you rate Gone Home out of 10?
I'm going to rate it 8 out of 10. I loved the story. I think it's a very good topic, actually, the story. And when you play this, you'll understand what I mean. I think it's kind of a bit. It's not like a completely out there story that is really, really edgy or anything like that. But there is definitely an element of being a bit brave in their storytelling. And I really appreciate that, actually. I think it was really, really good. 8 out of 10. Very, very happy with it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Erim. Let's swap interviewer hats.
Okay. So remind us, what are you going to be talking about today? Hyrule Warriors, is that right?
Yeah, I'm going to be talking about, I think this is the second Hyrule Warriors game. So this is Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. This was released on the 20th of November 2020. I also mentioned it in our roundup of the best games of 2020 because I played it last year. And it was developed by Amiga Force as part of the Legend of Zelda series, so developed under a license from Nintendo. And it is a single player and multiplayer video game of the hack and slash style. And it's available on Nintendo. So I played it on Nintendo Switch. What else can I say? You basically... It's a hack and slash. They're stones, and then they go for a wee.
Oh, that's a very original genre of game, actually. I think it's definitely going to do well.
What would you call your game if you actually designed a hash and slash game?
I have no idea. Stoner's Dream? I don't know.
Stoner's Dream. Okay. The original script will be written and we'll have a game called Stoner's Dream. Hash and slash, new genre of game.
Go on then. Let's hear.
I'm sorry,
what is this game?
I'm crying.
Oh no.
So basically this game is set 100 years before Breath of the Wild, with the same characters, same universe, and you play as Link, Zelda, and all of the champions who are sadly long gone by the time you get to Breath of the Wild. So this is really a kind of prequel, but made by another company. Yeah. So yeah, that's
nice one. So what were your expectations going into Hyrule Warriors 2?
I had never heard of Hyrule Warriors. I'd never played any of these games by this...
Never played the first one?
No. Okay. I've never played any of the games by this team. This team make a certain type of game, and I've never picked them up or played them because I didn't think I liked hack and slash games, Erin.
Oh.
I may have changed
welcome to the
my
genre.
Mind. I may have
Glad
changed my
we've
mind.
got a convert.
Yep, absolutely. And I was actually looking for a present for our other brother, Bilen, who used to be on the podcast until lockdown made him really busy and he got a girlfriend. But he's Nintendo obsessed. Those of you who've heard our earlier episodes that he was on will know, like, he's just Mr. Nintendo. So I was looking for games to buy him, and I came across this back in November because it had just come out. And all I kept seeing was really good reviews. And I was like, what is this? I've never even heard of it.
Yeah.
And I literally just bought it not actually for myself, for Alex, my partner, because he does like hack and slash at times when he's in the mood. And I know he really liked Breath of the Wild. And I was like, oh, Alex will like this. And then he didn't start playing it after Christmas. So I started playing it. And I became obsessed. And he still hasn't had a go on it. Because
he still hasn't played it?
No, he's played like a little bit, but I've basically hogged the game.
Oh, nice one. So you basically bought a present for yourself. I mean, like, well done.
Yeah, kind of.
That's how Christmas
Sorry,
should work.
Alex. Sorry. Yeah. I didn't mean it that way. I didn't think I'd like it. But I've become obsessed. So let's get into the positives, I think, because there's a few.
I'd like to hear a little bit more about like what is actually happening in this story, because obviously some people will know Breath of the Wild. What exactly is happening? So is this is it the Age of Calamity, like just before Ganondorf kind of like destroys everything?
Absolutely bang on the money, yeah. So this is exactly 100 years before the beginning of Breath of the Wild. At the beginning of the Breath of the Wild game, Link wakes up in a kind of crypt and he's told that he's been asleep for 100 years. During which time Calamity Ganon has taken over the whole of Hyrule, which is the realm that they live in. And there's just horrible little monsters everywhere and nasty kind of purple glowing sludge on places. So this game rewinds those 100 years and gives you a prequel. So basically it's filling in the story. So what you see is the emergence of all the bad stuff. So it's when the bad stuff is just starting, and the heroes of the game aren't really sure what's going on initially. They're encountering more and more goblins and bogoblins and monsters and things, and also this kind of purpley calamity stuff that's everywhere. That's like slowly making things bad. So you meet things that have kind of been turned bad that were initially good, and that gets more and more intense as the game goes on. So as the forces of evil gather more power, you basically come across more and more enhanced nasty monsters. So that's where it is in terms of story. So but then in terms of your objective in the game, you just have to kill hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of monsters.
Yeah. Okay.
And gradually you will unlock a map.
Yeah.
And that unlocks more stuff. And it's the same map as Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. So they've obviously worked really closely with the team who developed it to keep that consistency. Because I think the first Hyrule Warriors, and I've seen clips of it, is just a bit... they've like added random anime characters into it who aren't necessarily canon to the Zelda story, which just looks really out of place. But from what I've seen with this one, it does actually, it really feels like it is Zelda rather than Zelda characters killing each other.
Yeah, 100%. This from everything from the music to the characters, it's almost the same. It really feels like I've gone back in time in the same game, but been given a whole different type of gameplay to play around with. Yeah. But to the point that you can still cook food, just in a slightly different way. You don't do it around a campfire, but you've still got the food. You can still fight with a broom.
Yeah.
or a branch off a tree. Like, they've kept things like that. Yeah. You still collect Koroks.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, the landscape's recognisable. The map is the same, so you recognise all the names. from the Breath of the Wild game, of all these different places like the stables and the observatories and stuff, or labs, I think labs. And then you meet all of like the characters that survive the Calamity, who are present in Breath of the Wild are kind of old. And then when you meet them in this game, they're young. And so that's really sweet. Like it's a really nice little touch that some of those characters that you meet both times. And also, as I said, it fills in the gaps. So, for example, you get to also, as well as play as the Guardians, like the champions, the 4 champions, you also get to play as the Divine Beasts.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Yeah, so you get to control the Divine Beast, and that's kind of amazing. Like, you can be the giant elephant or the giant bird and just take out...
you just like some... I was going to say, you just like some ridiculous tank in battle, just like destroying everything.
Yeah, and you literally, thousands of enemies, you just blow them up and laser them, and which is kind of interesting, because when you know what happens in the Breath of the Wild, which is that those those divine beasts turn against the goodies, basically. Yeah. You've already seen their firepower, so you can see how bad it's going to get before. So there is a sort of impending sense of doom when you're playing this game.
Despite all your actions, you know that the worst outcome is going to happen ultimately. Yeah. Oh, nice one. It sounds really, really good. Just to move ourselves on. So what is this game doing really well? What are the positives of it then that are really appealing to you?
So first of all, the fact that it's so well kind of borrowed, like it's taken directly out of the Breath of the Wild canon. It's, as I said, it's almost seamless the way they've transitioned that world into this game. That's a massive positive for me because I love Breath of the Wild. Secondly, it's really accessible, this game. You can start playing it, and the first few levels, although you are literally killing hundreds of bogoblins, it's not too hard initially, so you just feel like you can really get going with it quite quickly. And I think that what sometimes puts me off with these kinds of games is that either it's too easy for too long, or it's too hard straight away, and then I get stressed out. Whereas I think they hit the balance right, because it gets challenging when you're sort of ready for it to get challenging. I really love that you can play with all these different characters, and they're all really different. They've all got different personalities. Like the bird one, I always forget his name. The bird got
I can't remember the original champion, not the I can't remember his name. Oh god, I should have written it down. Birdman.
Basically, but he's really arrogant and not very nice. Yeah. And then like the Zora princess, she's like really sweet. So they've all got different personalities. And also Zelda throughout the game is really struggling with this idea that she can't use her powers properly yet.
Yeah.
And then all of this basically works because the story is so good.
Yeah.
And this game didn't even need to have a story. Let's face it. It's a hack and slash game, right? You don't really need a story. Like, you have a couple of cutscenes so something can load. Yeah. You don't really need a story. But they bothered to make a really sweet, compelling story. And really, Zelda's journey is quite, like, sad because she can't figure out how to activate her powers. And then she's got all these champions who are doing more than what she can do. So she's, like, frustrated. And then there's like more and more pressure on her to like unlock her powers to defeat Ganon. Yeah. But then also there's this gorgeous little tiny mini guardian. Do you remember the guardians in Breath of the Wild?
Yeah,
the 3-legged weird robot
octopusy things.
Yeah, there's a tiny little one.
Yeah.
And it becomes one of your friends and helps you, and it's so cute. It's so cute. It's a bit like if R2-D2 and BB-8 had a love child with a guardian from Breath of the Wild. That's kind of what it is.
That's really sweet. Yeah, so I mean, it sounds like this game really is, a winner on multiple fronts. But what Is there anything that's negative? Because so far it sounds really glowing at the way you've described it.
There is.
Boo. Go on.
It depends if it bothers you, but the game cannot cope when you get into the really big fights. Frame rate is not quite... Because you're playing it on a Switch. The frame rate kind of lags a bit here. Like, it just doesn't really... Occasionally... The action doesn't work, basically. It's not seamless. However, do I care? Not really. It doesn't stop the game. It just, occasionally you just notice it looks a bit weird when you're doing like mega combos of action moves and there's literally enemies flying everywhere. It doesn't bother me, but it is a negative because the game looks so cool, so every now and again, and you know.
Yeah, I think like coming from that kind of game genre that I really, really enjoy, that kind of hack and slash and strategy, I think you get used to it unless you're one of these people that has a ridiculously high-end computer that you can run these kind of games on. I think you just expect it almost. And as good as technology is, obviously, if you've got hundreds of different things on screen, it's going to cause a bit of an issue. As long as it doesn't completely freeze the action. No. I think people will bear well with it. And
honestly, like, it didn't bother me at all. I noticed it, then I forgot about it. It's just something that happens. And I think that that's how you have to go into this game. Like, go into the game for the gameplay. This isn't, like, it looks really nice, the game, but it isn't one of those games that you buy because it looks amazing and it's all in 4K. It's not one of those games.
Yeah.
It's still got that kind of watercolour feel to it. It doesn't look real life. So in that sense, like, even more so, I don't care.
Yeah.
The only other thing I'd say, I didn't find this negative, but some reviewers have. So it's worth mentioning that they do something with the story that they take a bit of creative license, basically, away from the Zelda story that we get in Breath of the Wild. And I didn't mind it. And to be honest, for me, it was quite nice. But I know that some people, like, if you're a story purist, maybe you'll get annoyed at it. But this isn't technically a Zelda game in that sense. Like, they can do what they want.
But I think the story with Zelda anyway, and I don't know if you know about like the multiple timelines and things like that, is so complicated.
Well, yeah.
And probably contradicts itself quite a lot in different places.
Well, yeah.
So if you are a story purist, is Zelda really the story that is purist, I guess? It's not really. So I think you've got to expect a bit of that.
Quite. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I didn't have a problem with it, and it's very much on that line, without spoilers. It's kind of along the lines of what you've just said. So, yeah, I thought it was nice. It actually put a smile on my face more than what I thought was going to happen. So, yeah. But
nice one.
In general, I don't really have many negatives. Oh, no, I've got one more negative.
Oh, okay.
This is probably more about the way I play. But I've been getting really sore forearms after playing this game. Because there's a lot of button bashing.
Is it button basher? Oh, no.
Yeah, like there is a bit more. I mean, you do like... You basically use the X and Y button a lot on the Nintendo controller. And you use the bumpers and you're aiming and you're running about and dodging and da-da-da. So you're doing more than one thing. But the amount of X, Y, X, Y, X, Y, X, Y that you're pressing... in sequence over quite a prolonged period to clear a level, because the level's quite each big mission is quite big.
What kind of time are we talking about per mission?
Like easily 20 minutes or something to clear a level. Sometimes a bit more, and sometimes you have to reattempt it because sometimes they're timed. That's when it gets a bit more challenging, but it's good fun, you know. It's always good fun.
Yeah.
So I really had sore. So if you've got repetitive strain injury,
I was going to say, not a game for people.
Maybe
with
not
RSI.
a game for you. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Moving on then. So, is there anything in particular that this game does well? Anything of note that you'd like to bring up that makes it a bit more unique?
What I'd say, and this will actually go into who I'd recommend this to, so I'll sort of merge those 2 points together. What I'd say about this game is I think it's a beautiful hybrid between a well-known franchise that's kind of warm and fuzzy and a hack and slash game. And I think for that reason, the bridging between those two things is done so well for me that I think that this game should appeal to quite a broad number of players. I think that you probably have to like Zelda a bit to get anything out of the story. And definitely, if you've played Breath of the Wild, 100% check this out, because it's the prequel we didn't know we were going to get, and we got it. And it's great. Like, I just think it's enough story and well done enough that you just feel like you're getting a bit more from that universe that we've all grown to love.
It's nice because it was such an iconic game for Nintendo, wasn't it? Breath of the Wild. I think some people have like touted it as the best game ever, and the fact that they're successfully building off of that into other games, it's just nice to see. Yeah,
exactly, and it really feels like it's been done with love, and I think that's another branch of its appeal. Really, it really feels like
not just milking it for the other game's success, but actually trying to make something more of it.
Yeah, okay. Like so there's lots of little Easter eggs and stuff like that in there as well. So so basically, if you're a fan of the Zelda franchise, definitely recommend this to you. If you're a fan of hack and slash games that aren't like super stressful but still give you that release, I really recommend this to you. Also, if you want to try a hack and slash game like me and just see if it's for you, this is a good one to start on if you've got any love for Zelda, because it sort of eases you in, and before you know it, you are loving killing thousands of monsters.
Nice one. I guess that kind of covers the recommendations as well then. So, moving on, the rating.
Oh, I think I have to give it a 9 out of 10.
Wow.
I really love it. I really love it. Everything from the story to the art style to the the music's really good. Did I say that? The music's really good.
You did say about it sticking to kind of like the original Zelda themes that are in there, but not necessarily really in terms of the quality of it. But yeah, that's good to hear that they've done a really good job of that as well.
Yeah, it's lovely. I just really, really like it. Really like it.
Amazing.
What a surprise as well.
Yeah. It's a bit like I said earlier, is you know something is good if it's out of your like normal kind of genre that you like, but you love it as well. I think that really shows a good quality of game development, and it really speaks volumes about both of our games, I guess, really.
I know, we've just completely swapped genres, and we're both living our best lives trying these new games out.
I honestly, once you're done with it and Alex has played it, I would love to get my hands on it, because that sounds amazing. To be honest, I still need to complete Breath of the Wild as well, actually. So many good games that I'm playing at the minute as well.
There's still, I'm basically, I've done most of it, but I haven't like done every single shrine. I haven't done any of the DLC. I had a go on some of the DLC.
Have you completed the main story, though?
I mean, but there's still lots of stuff I didn't do. I'm not like our other brother is a completionist, and I think has done everything.
Every single Korok and every single shrine. Yeah,
literally every single Korok. Yeah. I mean, that takes some effort, I think.
he is truly the most avid gamer, I think, out of all of us in terms of like the completion and the almost obsession with it. He needs to do everything, which fair enough. It would be good to have him back on the podcast again and discuss.
I'd like to know what he thinks of this game, because I ended up not buying it for him, and I bought him another game which has produced under license, which is the oh my gosh, I forgot what it's called. The one where you move along to the beat. Oh my gosh. Cadence of Hyrule.
Cadence of Hyrule. Okay.
Yeah, it's I can't remember the game it's based on. Oh my gosh, Crypt of the Necrodancer, that's it. So it's Crypt of the Necrodancer, Cadence of Hyrule, which is basically Crypt of the Necrodancer, but all the characters and the settings are Zelda from Hyrule. So you dance your way. Anyway, Bill reviewed Crypt of the Necrodancer in season 2 of our podcast, if you want to go back and check it out. It sounds like a really fun, great game. And I do like the soundtrack. I've listened to the soundtrack for it. It's very fun. But yeah, we're digressing massively.
It's just good to talk about games, though, isn't it? Let's be honest.
It's all we live for now. It's all we live for. So I think that brings us to the end of the podcast, Erin.
Yeah, that is us done. That was I enjoyed that. I can't wait to play your game, and I'm sure you cannot wait to play Gone Home now.
I know. I've already got it downloaded on the Xbox, so I will.
Amazing.
Thank you very much to you for tuning in for this edition of My Turn Podcast. If you want to check out our last episode to give you some more recommendations of games that we played in 2020 that we thought were good, thought you'd give a spin to, check that out. That is also up and ready for you to listen to. Also, please give us a like, give us a share, give us a 5-star review on iTunes. Go on. We'll give you things. We'll figure out how to send you things and bribe you. Be very nice. It's really, really helpful if you do. As we said, we're an independent podcast. We're not professional games reviewers. So any love you could throw our way is greatly appreciated. So I think that's goodbye.
Yeah, I will look forward to speaking to you all again very soon and reviewing more games.
Bye-bye.
Bye.